Hi, and welcome back to the Mortgage Broker Broadcast. My guest this week is Jess Edwards. Jess is a self-employed mortgage broker, and the reason I wanted to get Jess onto the podcast was that Jess has experienced, she's been a banking world, she's been an estate agency mortgage broker, she's been within the building society, and what I want to do is just get Jess's take on, she went self-employed as a mortgage broker just a year ago. I just wanted to get Jess's take on what the first year's been like for her, what challenges she's faced going from employed and security to becoming self-employed, why she wanted to do self-employed, why she wanted to be going back doing broking. So yeah, let's get Jess onto the podcast. So welcome to the podcast, Jess. How are you?
Hiya, Craig. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. I'm very good, thank you. On a bright sunny day, so yeah, I'm not complaining. But thanks very much for agreeing to come onto the podcast. And just the idea was, like I've explained, just talking about your background first of all, like we normally do on the podcast. And there's always no agenda. We tend to go off on a tangent and just end up talking about various other things as well. But yeah, I think it's just be good for people to hear your experience and like what you've gone through, particularly recently over the past sort of 12 months or so, becoming a self-employed broker. So, but first of all, let's go through your background. Do you want to give us a brief history of your past in financial services?
Yeah, so I started with HSBC around about 15 years ago not in a mortgage related role, but that's when I first started in sort of banking. And that's when I sort of got the feel for it and knew that it was something like a career that I wanted to sort of progress. And then I've worked with, building societies. I've worked as a broker, but not self-employed. So I've always been in a sort of an employed role within the financial services. So I've worked from, like I say, I've bounced from bank to building society, really.
and estate agency as well, Jess. You did a bit of a stint countrywide, so did a bit of that as well.
Yeah.
That seems like a few years, because that's when our paths did originally cross, was when you was at countrywide, which is is that like 8-9 years ago now? That
it will be.
Wow.
Yeah, well, about 2000 about
2013, 2014. It was. And then you left sort of the broking world to go back to not back, but into more of a financial institute, but more you went into the building society. And I think that's the sort of thing we wanted to talk about, is obviously going self-employed and what your mind was going through and where your head was at, why you wanted to go self-employed, and like how the differences you felt from being a building society. But there's quite a few people that I know that are, and probably you'll know as well, Jess, there's like a lot of people that are in the sort of banking, financial institutes, a mortgage advisor, facing redundancy, facing uncertainty of what do I do now kind of thing. And you decided to go, do you know what? I'll become a self-employed mortgage broker. So take us back. So that was over 12 months ago. So looking back sort of 12 months ago, where was your head at when you started facing redundancy? How was that sort of feeling? Did you think like, oh, I'm at the building site, I've got a job for life kind of thing? Or were you quite realist about where we're going? Oh, okay, right, fine.
Yeah, do you know, I always thought because I was at a mutual building society as well, I always thought, I'd be looked after, secure job. And I just thought in general mortgages were quite secure, because everybody always is going to need a mortgage. It's no matter,
absolutely.
it's the difference is how they want that advice, isn't it? That's the channel of choice for the customer or the client is where my particular redundancy came from, because the building society just didn't have the demand for that face-to-face in a branch network. So I assumed that I would be in a secure job. People always need mortgage advice, and it was a real big shock when, like you say, when I was put under notice for redundancy. So I thought I was quite safe.
So you are like, obviously you are a parent, you've got Olivia, and obviously you've got Andy as well as your partner. But so what was going through your head at that time, and what sort of support did you have from Andy when you sort of thinking, wow, I've been served notice from redundancy?
Yeah, it was awful. I mean, I've never ever been made redundant from any role, so this was a complete first for me. And to be honest, your mind is, you know, it automatically goes to how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to, you know, it's just automatic that's what happens. Obviously, my family and everything were great, but in the financial services sort of role that I was in, you know, me and Andy were on similar income, so it wasn't like we could live without that one income. You know, we relied on that income as well as Andy's income. You know, we had childcare to pay, we had, you know, sort of normal bills that everybody does, and you just automatically think the worst, and you think that, gosh, I'm gonna lose everything, and it's awful. It's a horrible experience to go through. But there were, obviously, everybody supported me as much as they could, including the, you know, the building society. But yeah, it was not a nice time.
No, but I apologise for taking you back there, but I think it is survival, because I have been made redundant myself, and I know what it's like. Survival mode kicks in, doesn't it? It's like thinking, right, the first thing is like, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to keep the roof over my head, kind of thing. So, and like I say, it's good that the building society supported you, but at the end of the day, you're out there on your own, and you've got to sort of at the end of the day, nobody else's.
Yeah, it's knowing that you're not going to get that income on the 15th of every month that is the big shock, you know, and then sort of it's like, right, okay.
So after that initial shock, then like the realization, and then you thought, so how quickly did you sort of come out the other side in terms of thinking, right, I know what I want to do and where I want to go and things like that? How quickly did that happen?
That was quite quick. I mean, I've always wanted to go self-employed. I've always wanted to do it. But me, quite risk averse, I think. I've always probably not had the guts to do it. And you know, I've had that stable job, and you know, we've had conversations as well in the past, Craig, where, you know, we probably knew that this was going to happen, that, you know, like you say, the face-to-face mortgage advisor role within a bank or a building society was probably not going to be around forever. But I say, you still don't quite believe it until it actually happens. But it was I think, like say, getting made redundant just give me that bit of a kick up the bum that I needed, really, and was like, right, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity to do it. It's always something I've wanted to do. Let's just try it and see if it works. And like saying, that's when obviously I got in touch with you, and the rest is history, so to speak.
12 months it has been an amazing 12 months, and we'll talk about the last 12 months shortly, because it is, in terms of, but I think like you say, it's going through that. I talk a lot about, you know, either a security person or an insecurity person, and I like insecurity. It doesn't, like, I'm not with anything, that's how I sort of am. But whereas for some, and so for somebody that is very much a security person, then, and wants to know everything and what's going to happen and how you're going to get bills paid and things like that, it's quite a big shock. But I think, like you said, it forced you to be brave, and because the thing is, Jess, you could have just thought, you know what, I'll go somewhere else, I'll find another financial institute that's taken an employed role and doing things like that. But you thought, you know, and that sort of you still take some guts. It's still because there's never a right time to go self-employed, is there? You can always find a reason not to go self-employed.
Yeah, definitely it is. And as I say, when I obviously was looking for other roles and things, there was plenty of employed roles out there that, you know, and it wasn't a case of there wasn't any other jobs out there, so I just sort of fell into this. I made that decision. I thought, you know what, I don't want that 9 to 5 anymore. You know, I don't want that Sunday evening thought where you think, gosh, I have to go back to that night. And that's what it's what it's like, you know. I thought, let's try something new. So that's what I did. And best thing ever.
Everybody does. Jess, it's quite funny that because I've not talked about that before, but it's quite the Sunday night feeling of that feeling inside your stomach, thinking, can I face another week of being in that situation? And and a lot more normally, a lot more than that. But it's just, can I fit? And I think that it's like, if you get in that feel, and I get it's not easy to do this, but like now, how, like, I suppose Well, I'm hoping you feel different about it now because you're loving what you're doing and you work-life balance and the rest of it, and we'll talk about that. But you must have a different feeling now on a Sunday night compared to what there was before.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love like getting my laptop and planning for the week and what am I doing, where I'm at, and and even as we've said, like the main thing for me going self-employed was the flexibility because of Olivia being only 4 and things, but even stuff like that, I can plan that in my diary, if I know that I have to pick Olivia up from school on a Wednesday or whatever, and she's part of my planning now, where when I was employed, she didn't even come into my diary planning because I didn't have that flexibility to do that. Do you know what I mean?
You abandoned Olivia. That's what you're saying, Jess.
Yeah, basically. So it's sort of, it's like that work-life balance, isn't it? Of sort of, and if I wanted to, now I can work on a Saturday or a Sunday because for me that's better because Andy doesn't work weekends. So again, when people can see me on a weekend, I can see them. Where when you are employed, you obviously restricted to the hours that you're sort of working what they set, the hours that they set. Where, as I say, self-employed, you set your own hours. You can work around yourself really, which is so that the flexibility is the best thing for me.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what we talk about. Is having that autonomy yourself on your diary. You can do what you want to do when you want to do it. You've got that freedom to do what you want to do, and that's the beauty of. That's a good part of sort of being self-employed. The bad parts are you don't get paid on the 15th of every month. Well, you don't know what you're going to get paid. You get paid at the end of every month. You just don't know. You do know what you're going to pay, but there's just not that same X amount of pounds going in, month out. You've got to. So how quickly was you, if you look back then, because one of the questions I get asked by new brokers that are looking to become brokers who are not experienced, they always sort of the question is, how quickly do you start to earn money? So how quick, what sort of, if you look back, you remember sort of like how long it took for you to start earning some income?
So I left. My last day of my employment was, I think, the 7th of February or something like that. So it is coming up a year. And then I literally started the 10th. Obviously, the courses and things that you go on, you're not actually seeing clients straight away. But I think my first pay was May, the end of May.
Okay.
So it's not really that long. For 3 months, 4 months.
No, yeah. That's what that's I talk about that. And it's good to. I've sort of put you on the spot with that question because I think that's something that people do want to know about moving from building society banking. How quickly am I going to start earning some money? So you was sort of 3 months and he's like, I think that's sort of giving a realistic time scale about earning money. So I talk about it like you had your redundancy and obviously got Andy to support you as well. But it's like having, when I'm ever talking to potential mortgage brokers or people looking to go self-employed, I say to them, have 6 months savings in your bank. I think I'm sure we had that conversation one sunny day in Stockton just before you even did it about having that funds behind you. And that's why you didn't do it, because at the time you didn't have that security behind you. So you use that. What I love is that you use that negativity and that shock of I'm made redundant and I'm facing redundancy. You've turned that into something that you now love doing, enjoy doing what you're doing, and Olivia is now part of your diary.
I think, like, if I suppose in a way I have got the building society to probably thank for that, to be honest, for making me redundant, because I think if I hadn't have been put in that position, would I have still been sat 9 till 5 in an office? Would I still be there? And probably, hand on heart, I probably would be, because as I said, I'm quite a sort of risk averse person. But I've probably got them to thank for it, to be honest, as well as
And that's it. You've got, like, it is true that they have helped you be into this situation that you're in now, and you're not having those Sunday night stomach feelings and dread feelings about what's facing on Monday. Look, even now on your face, even though this is a podcast, we do record it and it goes on YouTube as well, so people can see the sort of the look on your face, and then the realization that you don't have that anymore, and then the smile on your face. So, so what? Well, like when you look back over the last 12 months of being a self-employed mortgage broker, what's like been your biggest challenge, Jess? What's been the biggest thing for you?
The challenge, probably the main thing for me would be like my social media side of it, something I still probably struggle with. But yeah, I think that's probably the main thing. Obviously, the income side of it is probably the least, because I am at that point where I am earning quite a sort of a regular. I've got a regular income basically, and it tends to be quite similar each month. It's not that drastic, so that's not something I would say I struggle with. I'm at a point now where I know what sort of pipeline I need to have to earn what I need. Do you know what I mean? And obviously, wanting to earn more, obviously, which everybody does, but I know what I need in order to get me through the bills and the usual sort of thing. But yeah, the social media, the struggles is still like that worry of, will I have them clients? Will I have clients coming to see me? Will people want to speak to me? And touch wood, I've never been in that position yet where I've thought, gosh, I haven't earned any money this month. But yeah, I think that's going to be always a constant worry that because if you're not talking to people and you're not writing mortgages, in theory, you're not earning money. But yeah, like I say, touch wood, I've never been in that position, but that is always just in the back of your mind thinking, I do need to keep on at this, keep going, because once it dries up, that means you don't get any income, so to speak. So yeah, it's just it's one of them jobs which, and I say I wouldn't change. You just have to keep going and just take every opportunity as it comes, and just remember why you're doing it. And yeah, I think that's like I said, the main struggles for me. But I wouldn't change it.
It's good. I think one of the things, like you said there, which is, I think we tend to get it from a corporate world, especially in mortgage services, is like your pipeline, managing your pipeline, knowing what your pipeline is. So I think that's the thing. Like if you've got a pipeline, how keen I am on in terms of your pipeline and your pipeline conversion and things like that. But I think if you know what your pipeline is and you're following your process with your clients and you're progressing your cases and doing all those things, the income it's really put a smile on my face about what you sort of said there, because you don't worry about your income then. You worry about your pipeline. So you're obviously worried about filling your pipeline and also getting your pipeline out, but you don't actually worry too much about the pay. Because if you've got the pipeline and you're progressing your case and you've got your process right, then the income will come itself. That's what you're saying to me.
Yeah, that's basically it. And it's making sure it's you're juggling it all the time, and that you're making sure that like your pot is constantly getting filled up, because as it gets emptied, you need to fill it back up again. And that's basically how I work. I don't look at it as sort of the income that comes out the back of it is more like you say, that pipeline, that you've got that constant flow coming in basically.
Good. No, and I think just an interesting take, because like nobody's ever been on the podcast before and talked as experienced or inexperienced brokers and talked about pipeline management. So I think that's a real big thing to get out of this, is about worrying what looking at your pipeline and making sure you've got a decent pipeline and making sure it's coming out the other side, sort of thing. So I
think as well though, Craig, I think that probably was a little bit of a struggle for me at first, because when you were saying there in the corporate world, well, for the last how many years, we haven't had sales targets. They weren't a thing. That because if you're an employed advisor, you're going to get a wage regardless. It doesn't matter how many mortgages you write a month for the building society or for the bank. You're still going to get your salary on the X date of the month. But at first, because I hadn't been in that mindset for so long of having targets and sort of looking at my business as a pipeline, because I say you just sort of get a bit like, oh well, I'm getting paid a wage anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
what I mean? You get a bit lazy.
Exactly.
So when you actually go from being employed to self-employed, and if you didn't care about your pipeline, that meant you weren't going to get paid. It's quite exciting, because it's like, this is why you do it. You do it for that sort of reason, to help people and for all the different reasons. But as I say, when you're with a corporate, obviously a building society, a bank, or you sort of lose sight of that sort of thing, and that's where I think it loses a bit of the excitement, and it did for me, especially at the Building Society, because that's the way I've always been driven, figures, and I like to know where I am and what I'm doing, and I'm quite competitive that way. So yeah, when I first started it, like I say, it was a bit of another struggle, because I hadn't worked like that. That mindset was sort of gone for so long.
Yeah.
Where now it's sort of good, and I like the thrill of, where's my next client coming from? What am I going to do to increase business and things like that? So I like having that mindset back again, where, like I say, I lost it for quite some time. Yeah.
I think if you're naturally that kind of person anyway, Jess, you're going to you picked up pretty quickly anyway. So I think you'll easily fit back into that competitive mold, and knowing your stats, knowing what you're doing, knowing like where, like you say, like your pipelines, all those sorts of things that you've not cared about. So because you've not had to worry about those things.
No,
you pick that back up fairly quickly. So yeah. So looking back over the past 12 months, then what's been highlights, lowlights? How are you thinking about the whole thing?
Yeah, just honestly, it's the best thing ever that I've ever done. It really is. If, like I say, someone had said to me 12 months ago, "Oh, go self-employed," I would have been like, "Oh God, no, I don't know. Actually, I'm a bit." But yeah, now I can't imagine going back to being employed. I really couldn't. So the highlights for me is, I've had a cracking year, to be for me. I think I've, and I was coming in the first 12 months not expecting to make a lot of money. I thought the first 12 months are going to be the hardest. But I've done surprisingly well. I'm not disappointed with what I've earned. Obviously, I'm hoping going forward I'm going to earn more. And I've done it in the middle of a global pandemic, which is it's been quite difficult. But yeah, I say that the highlights for me is, I've looked back on the year and I think, do you know what, I'm quite pleased with how I've done. I look at what's going to happen going forward. I'm excited of what's going to happen, and I know I've done it now for 12 months, so I know that I can just keep doing it. Now I know I've done it and I've accomplished it. I can do it and do it even better. And the highlight, like I say, as I've said throughout the whole chat, is the flexibility. Just being able to work around my family, that work-life balance. Just daft little things like being able to go to the gym for an hour through the day. We've never been able to do that before, and it's just such little things like being able to do things, being able to walk the dog on your lunch break and different things. Is that, for me, is probably the most important thing, is the flexibility. And as I say, I do it my way, and I do it the way I want to. So
Good.
Yeah.
And you should be, at the end of the day, that's what you're self-employed for. You do it.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel good? Because I know when I first went self-employed, I felt guilty. I felt as though I should be in front of my PC or at my desk for a long working day, because that's what I was used to. And I then felt guilty if I did go and walk the dog or go to the shop or do something like go for a run for an hour. I felt guilty because I thought, you should be at your desk, because you get ingrained that. But I think it took me about 6 months to get that real. I'll never get that guilt again. But I think that guilt was there at the start. Is that the same for you?
You go out, like say if you go out on your lunch break and you say you're out with a dog for an hour or whatever, and you think, God, I'm not getting paid for this hour. Well, like at first, where now I go out and I think, well, I'll come back in such a better mind frame to be able to work better. So it's just, I know how I work now. And it didn't take me long to realise that, to be honest. But you do have to take those breaks, and otherwise you will be sat in front of a PC all day, and it's not ideal.
No, it's not. I think, like you say, you work it to your own advantage. I know I like sort of to work in. I'm more productive working in chunks, so I will be at my desk early for a certain amount of time, get a break for an hour or so, get back and refresh refresh my brain, and then get back to it again. And I just think you work rather than for a non-stop shift, shall we say, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 hours, wherever it is, breaking it into chunks, you're just more productive that way. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think I'm
definitely
more for the Spanish way of life, having a siesta in the afternoon and then getting back to work.
yeah.
And
I'm more productive first thing on a morning, you know, up until lunchtime, and then I'm sort of later afternoon. I'm sort of, I need to get out, get a bit of fresh air, come back, and then I work on an evening sometimes as well, because I find that's easier. So like I say, you know when you work best, so you just do it. Like I say, fit it around yourself, don't you?
Exactly. And that's the big thing, Jess, and that's a massive thing that I look at, is like, you know what works best for you. So you're out, I know I'll do certain tasks when I'm working better in that frame of mind. I know that first thing in the morning I'll be like this, and then in the afternoon I'll do this. So you just work it to you. It's like, you're absolutely right. You're 100% right that you'll work your hours when you're most productive, and work when it is right for you as well. So
yeah.
Jess, thanks ever so much for being on the podcast. I don't think we've missed anything off. I think it's been great to have a chat about you and like what you went through at that particular time, how you've come out the other side, seeing what an amazing year you had in 2021. I'm like you, I'm looking forward to seeing where you get to in 2022 and seeing you like grow your business even further. So, but Jess, thanks ever so much for your time.
It's no problem. It's been a pleasure.